How to spend the summer? Please join us for the tour in the museums. Good morning. So I'm Liu Yexing from CMG. Welcome to our special program, A Journey to the Museum. So first I would like to show you the space cabin. Actually, this is not the real one. And today we are bringing our studio to the Locomotive exhibition hall. And also we are glad to be joined by some experts and kids. This area, you could see our expert is waiting for us. Good afternoon, everyone. So actually, many kids would like to go to the exhibition and the museums to spend their summer holiday. So before they come to this exhibition hall, what kind of preparation they have to be done before they start their visit? Well, that depends on different nature of the museums, and also for the kids, they also need to do some homework before they visit the museums. So maybe at the beginning, they could have a general look on the museum, and also they have their interest, and then they will choose which place they should go. For example, for some people, they may like archaeology, and for other people, they may like, for example, the locomotive or the spacecraft, etc. And also the parents can also give them some guidance, and they could pick some of the choices for the kids. So we recommend the parents should accompany the kids to visit the museum. So especially for the summer holiday, I think it is quite an interesting idea for the kids to visit the museums. And also today we could see in different museums we have many children, many kids visit. And also we have 4 lines of reporters. They are going to 4 different museums. So first we are going to visit the Daan Steam Locomotive Exhibition Hall. So in that museum, we could see we have about 300 retired locomotives parking there. So now I would like to turn over to my colleague Changchun. Tell us more about the steam locomotive. So this is actually an outdoor steam locomotive exhibition hall. It is also a time-honored exhibition hall with over 100 years of history. So it is an outdoor place. And this is quite different compared to other kinds of museums. So how do you feel when you first visit this steam locomotive exhibition hall? I think that is quite stunning. Especially when I saw the 300 retired locomotive. It's just like a book. It captured the history and also the evolution and the development of the locomotives. So in China, we also have a long history of the development of the steam locomotives. Let's try again to reach our reporter who is standing in front of the Daan Steam Locomotive Exhibition Hall. I could see you're already at the steam locomotive exhibition hall, right? How to spend the summer holiday? Please join us for a journey to the museums. Dear friends from CCTV and CGTN, I'm CMG reporter Changchun. Now I'm actually at the Daan Steam Locomotive Exhibition Hall. So for this place, it has the largest size of a steam locomotives, and also it have a great number of retired locomotives stay here. It also gained the award from Guinness Record. So today, please join me so we could understand more about the stories about the steam locomotives. So first, I would like to invite an expert from the exhibition hall to give us more details about the locomotives. Good afternoon, everyone. So when I first came to the exhibition hall, I could feel the vibe in this place, especially I could see a great number of retired locomotives displaying here. So can you give us a brief introduction about this exhibition hall? So for this place was established in 2001. So we're actually making good use of some of the local resources and to build this exhibition hall. We have completed the construction in 2011, and also it takes up a large size in the place. So we have different types of the locomotives here, and for the diameter is about like 30 meters. And in this place, you could see we have displayed about 24 sets of routes and also altogether about 300 retired locomotives. We have about over 200 steam locomotives, and also we have diesel locomotives and the electric locomotives. So as you said, we have about like 78 locomotives displayed inside of the exhibition hall. So I think for all of these locomotives, some of them are made over 1955, and I believe for all of these locomotives, they have very long history. So maybe I would like to talk about this one. This is what we call the Guang locomotive. We name this as the 1820 locomotive. So for this locomotive, it has set the record for the travel journey. It's about like 1,113 kilometers. So back in decades ago, and for this steam locomotive, it's very powerful. So for this locomotive, I also used to transport some of the military supplies. And also for this locomotive, it has gained a lot of honorable titles, especially when we're talking about the battles. And for all these kind of locomotives, they're also providing a lot of supplies to our soldiers. So for the locomotives, they are also paying a lot of contribution to maintain the peace. So especially for this one, what we call the Guang locomotive, it has made a lot of contribution. So also if you look closer on the surface of some of these locomotives, you could see there's still some of the scratches. So how we maintain all of these locomotives? So for these locomotives, they has been placed in this place for a really long time, and because of the sunlight and other reasons, for some parts they have been eroded. However, we have to try our best to preserve all of these locomotives. So we have some people and some experts. They are trying our best to restore some of these locomotives. And we are trying our best to restore some of the original look for those locomotives. So even though we are seeing some of the scratches on the locomotives, but still we could see for people who are working in this sector, they really love the locomotives. They're deeply attached to these vehicles. So for among these like 78 locomotives, which one have the longest travel record? For example, this one, for the crew, is actually established in 1970. So for this locomotive, it used to transport some of the coal to different parts. It has a very long duration and a very long history. of the journey. So for this one, it's actually considered as a name card among all of these retired locomotives. So if I look closer, I do see some of these scratches, so some of the surface are damaged because of the time. So for these locomotives, I believe we have to fill in some of the coal and the water, maybe some sand inside of the vehicle. So just take a look at the wheel. We do have some pipes to transport some of the sand. So for example, when we are adding some of the sand inside of the wheels, we are trying to increase the friction. So in the northeast part of China, the road is quite slippery, especially in winter. So we are trying to adding some of the sand inside of the wheels to ensure the safety of the travel. So in my impression, for some of these locomotives, they're actually in similar shape. And for some of the children, when they come here, they may have some first impression about the cartoon. But here you could see we have a large board setting up here. So by having this board, we are able to divert the direction of the smoke, and this will not block the vision of the driver. So also if we look at the cockpit or the control room, you could see we have only one small window. We have to make sure that for the drivers, they have very good vision. Also, I want to understand the principle or how the steam locomotive works. So for the locomotives, it has 4 major parts. First, we have the boiling section. So we have similar structures with the modern locomotives. We have different kinds of pipes. So for the boiling machine, it will generate the steam. So for the front part is the mechanical part. So after we get the power, and then we will try to divert some of the steam. So we are trying to divert some of the steam to different parts of the vehicle. So I would say for this mechanical part, maybe it is the engine for the locomotive. And then we have the wheels. And also we have another part. This is also a coal container. So for the coal container, we will contain the coal as well as the water. So altogether, we have 4 parts of the steam locomotive: the boiler, the engine, the wheels, and also the coal container. So for the locomotive, it feels like it could only travel on a straight line. How it makes turns? I believe all of you have traveled by cars or the trains. So when you want to turn left, actually the road on the left side is lower than the surface. On the right side, actually the track is higher. So this is help to resist the inertia for the travel of the locomotive. So just take a look at the wheel. So for the wheel, it is not flat. So I'll use one example for the automobiles. When you make a turn, so for different wheels, they will turn different times or different circles during the turn. So for some of the wheels of the locomotive, we have to pay attention to the radium and also the angle of the wheels. And especially for some of the area, if the radium is higher, they will follow the outer track. So if I get it correct, actually the outer rail is higher, and then it could make sure that for the locomotive could travel on a smooth way and it will not capsize. And also we are adding some of the weight to the wheels. So for example, this one, we are adding more weight on this wheel. So of course we have considering the size of the wheels. So actually it is a coordination between the wheels and also the tracks. Also, I'm quite curious that when we're driving the steam locomotives, and I believe there may be some experienced like drivers. So any special rules for these people? So for many experienced drivers, they also taught to us about how to drive the steam locomotive. So for those senior drivers, they have to come on site 1 hour earlier before the departure. So first they have to polish the locomotive to make sure that it is clean. So why they have to polish the locomotive for many times? Because they really love this kind of steam locomotives. And actually we have a slogan, come to work with a happy mood, and also if you are leaving the site, you have to make sure that everything is clean and safe. So we should always remember all of those spirits, especially the affection to the steam locomotives. And also we could tell for many people they really love the locomotive, they really love the job they are doing. So for some of the experienced drivers, when they come to the steam locomotive site, when they look at some of these vehicles, they will touch to tears. So for some of these locomotives, they're made in about 1950s, so they have really long history. So right now we are bringing them all together in the same place. So when we are looking at all of these locomotives, we could also try to remember some of the histories. So now we are trying to get into the control room. How many drivers inside of the room? We need 3 people to monitor the locomotive. We have the pilot, the driver, main driver, and also we need to have some like co-pilot. And also we have some person take charge of the boilers. So for the modern trains or the modern locomotives, we only have 2 people for the driving. So for one is the main driver. What about the other one? Well, actually, if you will have a really long journey, we have like 2 people working together for the drive. So you always talk about the steam locomotive is quite different than the modern locomotives. And I think in summertime, if we burn the coals, I think it's very tough experience. So maybe more people would like to drive the steam locomotives in winter. No, actually in winter, it's even harder to drive the steam locomotive. So even though you see the stove inside of the steam locomotive, but it is not warm. It is quite cold, especially when you are driving the steam locomotives in winter. So for the person in charge who are trying to burn the coals, and at the beginning maybe he feels very hot. However, after a few moments when they step out from the train and then they will feel extremely cold. Because they are working at an extreme condition, the temperature is about minus 40 Celsius degree. So I understand this kind of situation is quite tough, but still, for all of these steam locomotives, they're carrying a lot of missions and made a lot of contributions in the old days. And also you mentioned for this one, it has traveled over 3 million kilometers, and I would say this is a train with a very long history, and also it is very powerful. And also we have another guest inside of the driving room. Now we're trying to step into the locomotive. Good afternoon. So for this gentleman, Mr. Hu, he used to drive one of these steam locomotives. So right now you're going back to the seat for the operator room. Can you show us some of the moves? For example, how to start the engine? So first you have to control the brakes, and also you have to open up the boiler system, and also you have to release some of the pressure and also release some of the condensed water. And also if you want to move forward, you have to push this button. So I think there are a lot of terms, and so maybe I would like to have a recap. So this is the driving handle. So for this handle, it is actually controlling the direction of the locomotive back and forth. And also we have the hydraulic board. So based on my understanding, maybe these are different gears. And also actually you could look at the meter in front of us. It is also controlling the speed of the locomotive. And for this one, this is actually the accelerator. So what about this one? So this is the braking system.
明白了，单机的意思是不是就是咱只开这个火车头的时候用这小的刹车，然后
So we have two braking.
大的货物咱们就
So actually, if you just are controlling the head of the locomotive, you could only use one part of the braking system. If you want to have a very large train, and then you may use another part. So based on my memory, I always hear some of the steam vessel from the steam locomotive, how to make that sound. So when we are, for example, seeing some of the obstacles in the tracks, and then we will try to fire or try to make all of these steam whistles. Actually, we could make 5 different kinds of steam whistles from these locomotives. So can you show us around for this operator room? So this is the seat for the driver, and also we have a co-pilot or the co-driver who's sitting next to me. And also we have a person taking charge of the boiling system. So in this place, you could see we will put some of the coal inside of this place. So for each one of the locomotive, it will carry about 18 tons of coal. And for this one, it is the water storage box. It would carry about 50 tons of water. So when we reach to different stations, and then we would try our best to fill in or replenish the water in the locomotive. And also we have a mini toolkit. So you used to be the driver for these steam locomotives. I believe you have been driving the locomotive for a long time. Any stories you want to share with us? Actually, each time when I take the locomotives, and then I would like to bring some of the supplies and send the supplies to different places. And I would like to polish the locomotives to make sure that it stayed intact and also it could remain at its original look. Now I could see for Mr. Hu, when he come back to the operator's room, he's very happy. So actually, for these few days when we are coming back to this exhibition hall, we could see Mr. Hu trying to polish and clean the locomotives again. So I'm deeply attached to this locomotive because I try to clean this locomotive for about like 20 years. It's just like my kid. So I'm quite curious, and any special skills required for the person in charge of the boiling system? So for that aspect, actually they still need to undergo some of the trainings. For example, they use the shovel to take some of the coals. So every 1 minute, they have to fill in 20 shovels of coal inside of the engine. And also for some of the experts, they also have special measures to come up with the steam and to fire some of the coal. They also need to try their best to save some of the energy for the locomotives. So for the operator room, it is not just about the two drivers. For the person in charge of the boiling system, this person also needs to be very expertise. Because for the whole locomotive is driven by the steam. So we need this person to generate the steam for us. So that said, we need like 3 people to work together to make sure that the locomotive can travel safe and sound. So you could see I have to like step down for a few steps. So I just have a quick chat with Mr. Hu, and you said for some of the experts and for some of the drivers, they really like to clean the locomotives. They really like to make the locomotive very clean before they leave. So can you tell us more about the significance of the steam locomotive? Well, I think for the steam locomotive is very important vehicle and transportation means for human beings. So it is not just about the train development. This is also making a lot of contribution to the development of the civilization of human beings. It is of great significance. So for the steam locomotives, it plays a very key role for the human civilization. It is a great invention. So here I am seeing a very great pipe. What is that?
看那个水表了。
So we just talk about so for all of these steam locomotives, we need to have water inside of the machine. So this is the hose for the locomotives. So we could use this kind of device to fill in water inside of the locomotive. So I believe some of the children would like to ask some questions. So just now, for the children, they're very interested about the steam locomotive exhibition hall. They have some questions for you. So what is the size of the wheel of the steam locomotive? Any more questions? So how the locomotives work? So what it looks inside in the locomotives? Maybe they also still want to see more about the structures inside of the locomotives.
好的，谢谢月薪。好的，谢谢月薪。问题收到了。刚才这个小朋友们呀，问了3个问题。
Right, for the kids, they asked like 3 questions. The first one is about the size of the wheel of the locomotives. I think for these like locomotives displaying in this place, they are of different size. So for this one, we call it forward, and it is the most advanced steam locomotive. The weight is about 133 tons.
我来比量一下吧。咱先别说这轮子有多高啊，不然暴露了我的身高。
So maybe I try to compare myself to the size of the wheel.
我猜一下啊。
I would like to have a guess. You must know the exact size of the wheel. I think the diameter is about 1.7 meter. So this is not the one. We have another locomotive called 建设, literally means construction. So for that one, the diameter is about 1.7 meter. However, for this one, the size, the diameter is about 1.5 meter. And also the children asking what is the principle and how the steam locomotive work. So actually, just like you are boiling the water, I believe all of the kids have watched how the water boiled. So first we will try to fire the coal. And inside of the boiler, we will try to generate the steam. And for the steam, it will consider as a power and then to drive the engine for the locomotive to work. So actually it is quite a simple way to make the steam locomotive work. We have a generator and the engine, we are trying to generate the steam, and the steam will turn into the power and drive the locomotive to travel. And also for the kids, they really want to take a look at the operator room. So actually we have just been there, but now I would like to show you again what's inside of the operator's room.
据我学到的知识啊，跟胡老师学到的知识，这个呢就是火车的前进，控制它的前进和后退。
So for this one, actually, it is responsible for us to
这个就相当于咱们那个汽车
control the direction.
这个就相当于变那个前进后退的那个操纵杆。
So actually, this is the control handle for you to control the direction for the locomotive back and forth. And also, we have the accelerator, and so we have the braking system. We have 2 sides of different braking, and for one of them is responsible for the head of the locomotive, and for the other one, it will control the whole train. I just give you a general idea on how the steam locomotive work. And in this area, it is the place we put the coal. And if we transport and bring some of the coal on the other side, we're able to generate the steam.
我们的小朋友都是好奇宝宝呀，而且就我小的
I
时候也
think for
非
the
常喜欢
kids,
火
they
车
are
看
quite
一遍过
curious.
还得再看第二遍。
So
这
when
种
I
好
was
奇
young, I also love
那
all of
戴
these
老师其实
locomotives.
看过这么多，看过这两种吧，这两种蒸汽机车，而且现在咱
So
们看
just
到
now
有
we are
这么
taking a
一共
look
有
at
78
the
台车
two
嘛，
types
放
of
在
the
咱
steam
们
locomotives.
赣北的蒸汽机车
And
之内
in
过
the exhibition
我比较好
hall,
奇
we
的一
have
点就是
altogether 78
这么多
locomotives
的
here.
车，咱们是怎么运到这儿？
I'm quite curious how we transport all of these steam locomotives to this place. So in this place, it is also a education base for studies. And also we have received a lot of questions from the children. They also have the same question with you. That is how to transport and transfer some of these locomotives to this place. Actually, we have the tracking system. So first of all, we will have a train to
就是相当
pull
于
some of
这
the
个转盘这里
locomotives
有一
here.
条铁轨，可以这么说吧，这是一条轨道。然后，如果
So I
想
would
把这
say
个车
in
放
this
在它
area,
现
we
在的
will
位置，
consider
我就
it
把
as a
转
turn
盘
plate.
转到这儿，然后就可以把这个机车运过来。
So first of all, we will move these locomotives on this turn plate, and then we will use the train and also to move some of the locomotives to designated place.
刚才也说过嘛，单向行驶。
Also, you could see we have built some of the tracks on the turn plate.
改变它的方向。
So as for all the trains,
好的，谢谢戴老师，谢谢戴老师今
like
天的
drive
讲
on
解，
a
谢谢。
straight line. So that's why we need to have this turn
今天
plate
通过戴
so
老
that
师
we
和
could
胡
bring
老
all
师的
of
讲
these
解，我们
locomotives in the
也
designated place.
学到了很多关于火
So
蒸汽
today
火车的知
actually
识。
we have
让我们
learned a
看了
lot
不
about the
仅了解了
knowledge
这个
of
青
the
年号、
steam
黄金光号背
locomotives.
后的历史故事，同时也了解到
We
了
learned some
蒸
of
汽
the
机车内部
stories
的构造。
associated
其实通过
with
两位嘉宾一
Huangji
老一少，我也感受到
locomotive
了他们
and the
中
Changchun
国
locomotive.
铁路人有
And
当火车
also
头
we are
身上
glad
的
to
这种
be
精神，以
joined
及他们互
two
相之间的传承。
experts. And also I'm quite touched by their
在未来
spirit
呢，这里也将
and
改
also
造
their
成大
patriotism.
安蒸汽机车博览馆，届时呢也
So
欢
in
迎
the
所
future,
有的
this
朋友来到
place
大安
will
来
turn
来到我
into
们的博览
Daan
馆，欢迎新的博
Steam
览馆来参观
Locomotive
来游玩。
Museum.
好的，
And
月
I
薪
hope
我
in the
在大安
future, if you have the
蒸汽机
chance,
车
make
陈列
sure
馆
you
了解到
pay
的
a
情况就
visit
是这
to
样。
Daan and also come to the Steam Locomotive Museums. That is my part. Back to you.
爱的讲解。刚才呀，其实我跟曹老师也聊了很多呀，包括我们看到这个。
So just now we have talked a lot about the steam locomotive, especially if I look at the bird eye view of the exhibition hall. I think this is quite stunning, especially for some of the locomotives they use to transport some of the supplies, and also they are trying to transport some of the key materials to different places, and also to help with the disaster relief. So actually, I am quite impressed by some of the steam locomotive, especially when I was young. I can also hear some of the alarms from the steam locomotives. And when I was young, I also quite curious inside of the operator room, and also want to pay a visit inside of the room. Especially, I would say for the coal, they are quite precious inside of the locomotive. And also for all of these coals, they're of very high quality. And in Changchun, actually, we have a role model. So also he has a very lovely nickname. So that is the Shuffle Li. So actually, it requires a lot of skills for people to use the shuffle to transfer some of the coals. So for these experts, if he did it right, he could save a lot of resources. So for this exhibition hall, I would say it played a very key role in promoting the human civilization. And also for this museum, it has taken up a very large size of the place. And also for the steam locomotive, it is a signature product from the Industrial Revolution. I believe for some of the people, you may learn some of the basic laws and the basic principles from your textbook. And you may understand some of the basic laws on how the steam locomotives work. So for example, when you are boiling the water and then you generate the steam, and steam will turn into power. So for human beings, before 1880, at that time, if we don't have the locomotives, and it will take longer time for the human civilization to progress. I think the Industrial Revolution have played a very key role to drive the development of the human society. And also we have to understand the relation of the steam locomotives with the city. So we always saying that for the steam locomotives, with the development of the locomotives, it could actually bring prosperity to Changchun and to the northeast part of China. So in the past, if we don't have the steam locomotives, there will be a lot of inconveniences of the travel. And if we have these steam locomotives in place, and then it will actually help the people to travel and also help the business to trade. We have locomotives, and then we have the train stations, and then we're able to build a city. Just as Mr. Cao said, for the train system and also the locomotive development has actually changed the development path for the northeast China. Now we are trying to move to another place, to the city of Siping, and actually it is well known for some of the famous battle. So right now we are calling like the city of Siping belong to Jilin province, but actually in the past we are saying the Siping city is belonging to the Liaoning province. So I would say for this city, it is actually at the border between the Jilin province and the Liaoning province, and also it is served as a very important transportation hub. And also there's a lot of battle taken place in the city of Siping. And also this place is very well known for its battlefield for the liberation of the northeast China. Now I would like to turn to my another colleague. Good afternoon, my name is Zhang Ran. So right now I am in the Siping Battle Memorial Hall. So for 4 times, the CPC has fought the battle with KTM for the liberation of the northeast China. With 4 battles, we are able to free this place, and this place has also played a key role for the development of the northeast China. And today, I would like to take you on a tour inside of the Siping Battle Memorial Hall. So we are trying to learn more glorious histories of China. And also, I'm glad to be joined by an expert, Ms. Wang, also an interpreter for the Memorial Hall, and she will tell us more about the history in the city of Siping. So I'm quite honored to tell you more about the stories about the Siping battle. So we all know that in 1945, the Japanese troops surrendered on August 15. However, because of the location of the northeast China, and for the city of Siping, and it is located at the border of the northeast China and also the Liaoning province and the Jilin province. And also we have 3 tracks crossing the city of Siping. So this place has been served as a core for the transportation. So if you want to enter inside of the northeast China, you have to go past the city of Siping. So for the CPC and the KTM, they have fight 4 times. So for the first war takes place in 1946 in March. So this is the time when Kuomintang tried to seize Shenyang. However, Siping is a very important place. So before KTM tried to seize Siping, and then CPC has already devoted a great number of resources and soldiers and making a lot of contribution for the liberation of the northeast China. And just within about 10 hours, and the CPC gained the victory. And just take a look at some of the key figures for the Northeast Democratic Allied Army. So after we completed the first battle, CPC released a notification announcing the liberation of the city of Siping. So we are trying our best to spare no efforts to safeguard the place of Siping. Talking about the second battle, it takes place from April to May. It lasts for about 1 month in 1946. And also Chairman Mao Zedong personally directed this war. So the purpose is to obstruct the aggression from KTM. So this is the political context for the war. And also you could look at some of the telegraph that has been sent from CPC. So from these 5 telegraph, you could get some of the major understanding about the strategic deployment. So for example, this one captures some of the notes and notification from Chairman Mao Zedong. So this also shows PLA's determination to seize Siping and try to liberate the northeast China. And on March the 25th, this is another telegraph. So now you could see this is a replica, and according to the instruction from Chairman Mao Zedong, and he said we have to spare no efforts and do what we can to gain the victory. So now we come to the third telegraph. So we are seeing that we have thousands of casualties, but still we have to do what we can to safeguard the city of Siping. So for the second battle, so we are so for the PLA deploy about 14 brigade, and for the KTM they deploy about 10 brigade. So altogether, the soldiers amounted to over 200,000 people. So that said, even though Siping is not quite large in size, but still, it is a very fierce battle. So on this side, you could see some of the weapons. You could see some of the rifles and the cannons. So for some of the weapons are used by CPC, and some of them are used by the KTM. So these are some famous rifles that has been used by the PLA. So I believe we have to consider the diameters. And also we have to look at the caliber of the rifles to determine the name or the category of some of these rifles. So for the second battle, it can be divided into 3 stages. So first is the infantry confrontation. So now we could see in different places, we all see the small scale of the battles between the KMT and the CPC. So from some of the photos for this gentleman, his name is Liu Zhengrong. So they are responsible to defend the Sandali. Even though for most of his peers lost their lives, but still he decided to fight on his own. So in the end, he also gained an award. Actually, for his brigade, he is the only one that stay alive. And then he's able to receive the award, which is titled as the Lonely Hero. And also based on the telegraph, you could see for the 2 troops. So it is a very fierce battle, and many people lost their lives. We could actually feel their determination. So now we are coming to a confrontation stage, because for the 2 sides, they already have some of the dialogue and the consultation. Now we are able to see one of the photo. His name is Ji Qingxiang. He used to work as a soldier. And we are trying to put some of his diaries inside of this place. It is just trying to see some of the day-to-day life. So here you could see for his team, before the battle, they are trying to take a good photo. And also he's saying that at the beginning, they have over 160 people joining the battle. But when they're trying to take the group photo, they only have over 70 people left. So this is the group photo in the Xijiao Park. Actually, they are staying in this place, in this memorial hall, to take this group photo. Even though they have only like 70 people, but they are able to defeat over 200 enemies. So on the front line, for the soldiers, they are fighting for peace. However, for some of the politicians, the consultation continues. Now you could see the famous group of 3, and they're trying to have the meditation and also trying to seize the war. And for Siping, and actually late 80s, we are trying to have an interview with Comrade Ge. And he said, before they arrive at the city of Siping, they are arrested by KMT. However, these people did not hurt them. They don't want the CPC to arrive at the Siping. And for KMT, they feel very proud. They are saying that for less than 2 to 3 years, and then Siping will belong to the KMT. But in the end, we're able to see for CPC have gained the final victory. Now we are entering into another stage, that is the gaming time. Because at that time, for a leader of KMT, they are quite determined to seize the city of Siping. And also Chairman Mao also make a very important guidance. And he said, we need to turn Siping into Madrid. So this can also relate to some of the histories to Spain, because with the leadership of CPC, Madrid has been existed for a really long time. So the reason why Chairman Mao have said this word is one to encourage the soldiers to defend the city of Siping. And for the last stage is May the 15th to May the 18th. So at that time, KMT continued to gather their troops and try to attack Siping. So their target is the Tazishan Mountains. They are doing a lot of shelling, and for the PLA, even though they are running out of bullets, they are trying to use the stones and also some of the objects available to them to fight back. And for KMT, trying their best to surround and besiege the Northeast Democratic Allied Army. So back in May the 80s. And Chairman Mao also has indicated that for this war is of great significance because the battle has been lasted for about 10 months. And also if we're looking at the characters, it also carry different meanings. If for this telegraph is ranked as 4A, meaning there is a high degree of confidentiality. So from a strategic point, the Siping battle is a successful one. This is a very important war for the liberation of the Northeast China. So soon we are going to talk about the third battle. So this is happened in the 1947. So in this place, actually we are trying our best to restore some of the original look. We used to call this bridge as the Zhaoping Bridge. So for the KMT, they are trying to scatter the beams. And this is also a very fierce battle, and many people shed their blood during the battle. So just take a look at this pattern. So for the paved way, if you are scattering some of the beams on this paved way, and some people may slide down. So we are trying to preserve the original look of some of these paveways. So for the third battle and for the PLA, actually we are the ones for the attack. So these are some of the chief commanders. And also for this blanket, so it's actually one of the belongings of Mr. Chao. And also for some of these commanders, they used to bring some of these belongings for a really long time. So especially if they are fighting the war, fighting the battle in the Northeast China, it is quite cold. That's why they have to bring the blankets and also these blankets with them all along the way. So for the PLA, in the morning we have to avoid the shelling. So that's why we always focus on the battles in the evening time. And also you could see some of the reports that has been captured in June 1947. Very tough condition for the battle. So for the KMT, they have over 35,000 people staying in Siping. You could see their determination. They're saying they have to do what they can and try their best to safeguard the city of Siping. And also we could see for the two sides, they are quite decisive to defend the place. So on one side, they do not want to retreat, and on the other side, they are quite determined for the attack. Now you could see some of the traps that has been setting up by the KMT side. And also we are able to see some of the castles. Back in that time, we have over 2,000 castles there. Even though that is quite tough, with over 2,000 forts, but still the PLA would like to conquer the city. In order to reserve some of the strength, on June the 29th, the PLA retreated again. So this is the largest size of the battle that has been led by the PLA, even though we have a very big casualty and very severe damages for our weapons, but still we learn a lot of lessons. And also it will help us to lay a solid foundation for us to retrieve Siping. So in our war to fight against the Japanese troops, we have different types of battles, but we have never have this kind of street fight with KMT. So now we are talking about the war to liberate Siping. So actually that is the last battle we launched to Siping and the KMT. So in the Fourth War, we have changed the name from the Northeast Democratic Allied Army to the Northeast PLA. We have gathered all the strengths and also launched the final attack. Because at that time, the KMT don't have sufficient labor and the servicemen. So on the first one, we have over 109,000 soldiers, but for the KMT side, they have only 10,000 soldiers. So when we complete the fourth battle, finally we are able to liberate Siping. And also we are able to retrieve the city of Siping. So now we are seeing one of the uniform. So Mr. Liu Yuqing, actually he donated this army, the PLA uniform, to our museum. So he is quite senior in his age, and then his family member on his behalf have sent this uniform to the museum. So for his gentleman, he only wear this kind of uniform for one time. He wear this uniform for only one time to fight the Siping battle. But luckily, he come back in victory. And also you are able to see some of the hats and some of the uniforms.
少我们有御寒的冬装了，那时候也是很艰苦。像这个展柜里看到有4枚小喇叭，这小喇叭它是一种近距离联络的工具。
And for this one, we are able to see some of the trumpets. So for these trumpets, they're actually used by the shell of the bullet. So actually for the KMT, they are quite afraid of the sound of the trumpet. Because if they hear this sound, meaning that for the Democratic Allied Army is around them. But they don't know where are they. And also, later on, we are also able to hear some of the sound of this trumpet in the Korean War. And this some of the cameras that has been used on the warfield. So here we have a small booklet, and this one is also one kind of the relic. And it captures some of the stories and the histories of the Siping battle. So in 2006, we have received this donation from a veteran in Siping. And actually for this book is made by Wang Chunde. So these are 2 relics, but they come to our exhibition hall and come to our museums with the interval of 20 years. So for this book, it's actually drafted by the same person. So for the Siping battle, actually that is at a critical time, and it is guided by Chairman Mao, and also it will show the fighting spirit from Chairman Mao, and because of that, we have gained a lot of advantages in the battlefield in the northeast China. Because of this war, we are able to weaken the forces of KMT, and also it has laid a solid foundation for the final liberation of China. And this is a very important war for us. So it is not just a battle, it is also captured the history of CPC. Now we are going to the section that we could see some of the relics from the front line. So first we will see a slogan. This slogan is also proposed by Chairman Mao. And now we are seeing some of the photos for the local residents. They are also trying to ditch some of the trench for the army, and also they are trying to provide food and supplies to the army. This is because on a state level, we are able to come up with a lot of favorable policies. So for the local residents, they're able to have land. They could live a better life, and that's why they would like to support the PLA. So just take a look at these coupons. So in the old days, people would like to use all of these coupons to trade some of their food. So this is a summary sheet. For example, it captures how many people joined the army. So during the 3 years' time, actually we have over 3 million people participating in the game, in the battle, and also for this group of people, they are also making a lot of contribution for the founding of New China. So this is also one of the treasures for our memorial hall. So for this vehicle is from one of the farmer. So for that farmer would like to use this vehicle. This is actually a horse carriage And by using this horse carriage, we are able to transport some of the food and supplies to the PLA. And from this area, you're able to see what the typical village's life looks like. So for the soldiers, most of them, they will live in the local areas, and then they will also help them to do some farm work. So for the soldiers, if they gain victory, and then you could see for their family members, they are also being receiving some of the prizes. These are some of the gifts they have been received. For example, for this horse, so for this horse is also considered as an honor. So in the war, the Battle of Siping, actually we have over 20,000 people injured or lost their lives. And we are only able to find out 62 photos of these martyrs. For over 10,000 people, we don't know who they are. But one thing is for sure, all of them, they're quite young. The youngest one is called Gai Guoying. When he died, he's only 18 years old. So this is the hero of the age. So for the Siping battle, it is a treasure for us. We have to remember them forever. Now we are going to another section. And I will show you a very magnificent painting. Because in this place, we're trying to restore the city of Siping. So during the wartime and the battle time, you could see all the debris, the smoke and ashes, the gunfires in Siping. So actually for this semi-look, it has been compiled of 8 paintings. It's a very tough battle. You could see there's no intact buildings and basically there's no streets in the city. But after 70 years, for this heroic city, it rises again. And people are able to live a very happy and cozy life in this city. But especially when you look at the scene back in the old days, it's quite a memory. So this actually comes to the last part of the Siping Battle Memorial Hall. So for all of these photos, actually we could learn the histories, and also from the figures, we could actually feel that because of their contribution and because of their sacrifice, then we are able to live a happy life today. Once again, thank you so much for your explanation and also your education about the glorious history of Siping. We have to always remember the history so that we could march forward more bravely. So that is my part in the Siping Battle Memorial Hall. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to our special program, A Journey to the Museums. And also this time you could see we're joined by a large group of children. So which museum is your favorite one? Actually, I like Shanxi Museum. Why? I believe you really love history. Yes. I like the China National Museum. Any impression? Because if I look at the architecture, it's quite symmetrical and also it is quite magnificent if I come to the National Museum. And I also like the Beijing Railway Museum because I really love trains and locomotives. So actually in Beijing Museum, you could see different kinds of trains. It's not just the steam locomotives in Jilin. I don't like museums, but I like this place. I think this place is more like a museum. Actually, we are in the museum because this is from the Changchun Museum of Technology and Science. Because I really like space, and also I like battlefield. Well, if you're a fan in the space or aerospace, so coming next you will love some of these museums. I like the Beijing Museum of Technology because I could see some of the trains and locomotives. I also love trains. I like the Beijing Museum. Which one is your favorite? I can see all kinds of relics in the Beijing museums. What about you? Actually, I like the Siping Battle Memorial Hall because I already visited some of the exhibition halls there. So I think he's quite special because he liked the Siping Battle Memorial Hall. I like this place. Why? I think this place is amazing. I could see everything in this place. I could learn all kinds of knowledge in this place. Now, I would like to go back to the studio. So just now for the children, they love different kinds of museums. So for myself, when I first go to the museum, actually I was surrounded by all kinds of information. I don't know where I should go first. So can you give us some tips on how to have a proper tour in the museums? Maybe I would like to address to the parents, because for some of the kids, I think they're quite young. So if you are visiting different types of museums or museums with professional knowledge, and for Siping Battle Memorial Hall, I think it is quite special because it has a different significance. And for some of the museums, they're quite comprehensive. For example, you could have some relics or some of the displays with science and technology. And I believe for the kids, they also love some of the museums of natural resources. I think for the parents, before you take your kids to the museums, you have to do a lot of homework, especially if you are going to visit a comprehensive hall. Make sure that you arrange the time properly. And I think for some kids, they love history, and for some of them, they love trains. So maybe you need to choose the museums that is suitable for them. And also for the kids, I think it's better for them to bring them to the museums, focusing on some of the natural art or the natural science. Now we will continue our show. In the Jilin City, we have a special museum that is the Jilin Meteorite Museum. And also we are able to see the larger size of the meteorite in the Jilin Museum. So now I would like to turn over to my colleague.
好的，月薪。现在我所在的位置呢是吉林市的陨石。